Hi FirePower community, Coach Maria here. I have a very special guest with me today. This is Coach Jodi. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of establishing a routine. We are facing an uncertain, a little bit of a tumultuous time right now with all the changes going on. And we're going to talk about how scheduling, how structuring your time can really pay off big time for you and your family as you spend a little bit more time together at home.
So one of the big things you're going to notice during this time, I'm sure as adults we're feeling it as well, the change in your routine, out of your norm. For some of us, not having that routine every day of going to the gym and being out and seeing people, you're really starting to feel the hit. Kids are feeling that as well. Maybe they're not watching the news as much as you are, but they're feeling your anxiety. They're feeling the change from, wait, what do you mean I can't go outside and play with my friend down the street? So being aware of that and recognizing that in this time frame, you are likely going to see a ramp up of behaviors. You're going to see a ramp up of opposition from your kids as they work through this. That is a natural reaction from a child during a situation like this, which is very stressful and very unknown. And they don't know what's going on any more than we know what's going on. So be prepared and recognize that that's likely going to come, and that's okay. That is okay. How we can help support them through that, though, I've seen all these really beautiful schedules online that are like color-coded and broken down by the hour, and I think that's really great for some people. I also think that we need to have some flexibility in that. So, for kids, especially screen time is a huge thing for them, right? Like, they love playing their games, being on their phones. I mean, adults are just as bad for it too.
I love being on my phone, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've seen the studies that show a link between screen time and social media time and increased rates of depression, which is going to be amplified now in this time of social distancing and social isolation. Like us right now, we've got our social distance going on. So you want to make sure that they know when it's coming. When do I get my screen time? So they have that to look forward to, and you can give it to them, right? If you've set 11 o'clock as screen time and they get an hour, you give them a full hour of screen time and make sure you follow through on that. Otherwise, they're not going to believe you anymore, right? You've now lost that trust piece. So that's going to be really important, but be flexible with that as well.
Of course.
So if Johnny says, hey, do you want to have a FaceTime at 11, but screen time in your house is until 1, it's okay. It's going to change, it's going to adapt on the fly based on how you're feeling, and give them lots of choice in those sections. So maybe, in the morning they have to do some sort of fitness, call it whatever you want, right? Move your body a little bit. Let them pick. Is that a walk? Is that doing one of the FirePower kids workouts? Is that, riding their bike? Is it just playing with the dog in the backyard? Let them kind of pick how they're feeling that day. Don't force it on them.
Right.
Let it be what they need it to be. And the same thing with the academics. I see all these great math worksheets, and parents are so worried about their kids falling behind. And don't worry about that, because when you get back to school, every kid is going to be in the same boat. And as educators, we are going to course correct for that. And we are going to meet the kids where they are. That's our job. We're experts in that, so don't stress about that. Every kid is coming back in the same position, so we will take care of that when school resumes. Use this time to play to their interests and make it fun and make it time together to help combat that anxiety that they're feeling. So let it be, baking stuff. You can get so many lessons into baking, measuring, fractions, reading ingredients lists, procedural writing. There's so much that can happen in there. And it's fun, and they don't know they're learning, and they're spending time with you, and they get an awesome treat at the end. Science experiments, read.
Yes.
Do so much reading together. This is a great opportunity for that. Build forts, build Lego things, get the empty boxes and all the soup cans and everything out, and build, who can build the tallest tower, put it on a baking tray and see who can survive an earthquake. Make it fun, make it experience-based. Don't worry about the heavy content stuff. And find things online. There's so many great resources. I think the museums in Paris are doing virtual tours that you can do. The Cincinnati Zoo's doing specific animal lessons, and they're doing all the exhibits. So there's lots of options to give them choice and play to their interests. Don't inundate yourself that, it's 12 o'clock, we've got to be here, and we've got to be doing this. Really recognize that this is a blessing to have some time with your kids right now. I recognize that a lot of parents are still working, so you need time to get your work done, and that's totally fair, and you want the kids to be occupied and doing things. They're going to fight, and I just don't think that in this time of stress and anxiety, fighting with your kid about a math worksheet is going to pay off. In the end of this, their mental health is most important. And in a few years, when we look back at this, they're going to remember how they felt, and they're going to remember the memories they made with you. They're not going to remember long division.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And as you said, being flexible, I think, is really important. We see all these timesheets now online broken down hour by hour. That's not always realistic. You want to set limits on certain things like screen time. You still want to give it to them, but you just don't want them to spend their whole day on these devices, really. Some other things that you want to plan for are outdoor time, so giving them, time to ride their bikes. Maybe they don't get to go to the park and hang out with their friends, but they can still go out for a walk. You can go for a walk as a family. Just make sure you are keeping that distance between you guys. Get them to play out in the backyard, and also have a chance for some family time. We talked about meal times and how even make some activities, and you mentioned how they can, maybe once a week you get them to set up a tent in the living room, right?
Yeah,
and camp out. And
you maybe make, camp style dinner, and you eat in your tent, and you sleep in the living room, and it's a great experience, and it's something they're going to remember. And there's so many lessons that can be found in all of this,
of course,
right? Even the cooking, and look at all the ingredients you have in your house, and be like, okay, you're in charge of dinner tonight. What are we having? Like, let them experiment, let them be creative, let them have an outlet through all of this. And obviously, like we were talking about, you do want some predictability and some routine for them, so they have that feeling of safeguarding, but you don't want to overwhelm them, right? A lot of them, when they hear, a couple weeks off of school, in their head they're thinking summer holidays, right? They're thinking out playing with their friends, freedom, doing whatever they want, and we all know that's not the case right now. So they're going to have a hard time matching all of this in their heads and matching their emotions to it. So be gentle, be kind with that. You're going through it too, right? Like, we're all feeling this disengagement, and there's a lot of anxiety around all of this. So be gentle with yourself and with your kids through all of this. Give yourself some consistency, so you're not spending all day sleeping or all day on your phone. Have some things, but make it choice driven. Make it, maybe you make a cool board at home that's like all of our fitness activities, and it's like when it's time for an activity, they can go and pick whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
Maybe like family time, you have all different activities. It could be board games, it could be reading, maybe it is watching a show, maybe it's going for a walk, and they can pick what they want to do off the board. Like, choice boards are a great option. It lets them visualize it, and hey, there's another activity. Make the choice board.
Yes. Absolutely, yeah. Making the bingo card too for the fitness that we are offering at FirePower Kids is another great activity. You don't want to. Sometimes I think having them or giving them too much choices, sometimes I think might get them like decision fatigue. So don't be, if there's not a lot of things that you can come up with or resources that you have, just having one or two options for them is plenty, and they can have an assortment to pick from. I'm sure that they can come up with ideas of things that they want to do too, so make sure that you are getting their input as well.
Absolutely, and it'll change, right? This week maybe this is the stuff they want to do, and next week maybe they want to do different stuff, and that's great. I think we need to be flexible, we need to be empathetic, we need to have all of that in mind while we're doing this, while still providing them a structured and supportive environment. It's really walking a tightrope right now. So I think the biggest message is have that kind of idea of, okay, we are going to get up in this time frame, right? Maybe it's not we're setting alarms for 7, but hey, if you're not out of bed by 8, I'm going to wake you up, and we're going to kind of start our day then, because sometimes maybe you need a little bit more sleep.
Of course.
And finding that balance between structure and flexibility is going to be really key right now. But I think it's a really great opportunity to make some great memories with your kids, and that's what they're going to walk away with after all this.
Of course. Just give yourself grace. Just know that everybody is kind of going through this, and trying to navigate all these changes is not easy. So don't feel like you need to give your kids something to do hour by hour. Just make sure that you're establishing a routine that works for you and your family, and it's keeping all of you guys sane, because it's something that I think all of us are really, like you said, struggling with right now.
Absolutely. And the Instagram world is full of all those beautifully colored schedules, and look at this amazing math activity my kid's doing, and that's not realistic for most of us. And that's okay. There's so many really fun, cool science experiments online, and sensory-based activities, and anything like that. It doesn't need to be heavy curriculum content. It's anything you can do with your kids right now is going to be amazing, and it's going to mean the world to them, and that's what I think you have to keep in mind. And don't worry about all those awesome Instagram posts. It's not reality.
Okay.
Making a schedule for your family during this time, especially if you have kids, can be a huge asset and help relieve some anxiety from all this unknown right now. A few key kind of do's and don'ts when you're looking at this. The first big one is have a skeleton schedule that allows for some consistency and predictability, but try to keep it pretty general and don't overwhelm the schedule. Try and make it more broad categories. Be flexible and offer choice in as many areas as you can. Choice boards are a great way to do this, and you can make them visual. Kids can help make them just to help give them some choice of what each activity will be during each time frame. Try and use kid-friendly language as best as you can. Maybe even make it a visual schedule so that allows younger children to be more independent with it. So some examples would be to call it DPA or movement break instead of fitness or physical activity. Keep your kiddo and how their mood and their motivation changes through the day in mind as you're doing the schedule. So a lot of times we see with older kids, they're not at their cognitive peak until mid-morning, early afternoon. So maybe they have a slower start to the day, whereas younger kids tend to be a little bit more energetic in the mornings. For more mentally demanding tasks, try and pair them after physical activity so kids are more primed to take in information and process it. So maybe you have a movement break followed by quote unquote more learning-based activities. And make sure you reward them. Give them time to do what they love. For younger kids, you might see this in smaller doses more frequently throughout the day. For older kids, they can usually sustain longer, but then they'll want a longer reward period as well. And usually try to pair this after something that they might not love as much. So if maybe, reading is sometimes something that they don't really love to do, maybe after reading we get our screen time. That's a great option to keep them motivated, and always follow through on that. So if you've promised them a reward, make sure that you give it to them. Most importantly, make it fun. Don't get stressed and overwhelmed about the academic content. Create experiences and memories. Allow time for creativity and to develop new skills and to find new hobbies and explore things that really interest them or interest you. Get them to fall in love with things that you love doing. It's going to be really important that you listen to your kiddos during this time and give them what they need. There's so much uncertainty and there's so much unknown, and it's changing every day. So be flexible with that. And remember that you probably will not have a single day where you follow your schedule perfectly, and those are still going to be pretty great days. So enjoy them and enjoy the time with your kids and make the most of it. Be creative. Explore all these great resources on the internet from, artists giving impromptu concerts on live streams, and museums offering free digital tours, and artists doing like online painting classes. There's so many great and fun options that are still going to incorporate learning aspects and creativity and can be built into a structured schedule for your day, but really make those memories with your kids right now.
All right, thank you so much, Coach Jodi. Super appreciate you.
Absolutely.
If you have any more questions, is there a place they can reach out to you?
Absolutely. You guys can shoot me an email. So jnieuwendyk@gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram, the same thing, jnewendike. Any questions you have, any supports you're looking for, especially, so my background is in special education, so any of our families who have kiddos with maybe some different needs at home, I'm happy to help out in any way I can. I've got tons of activity ideas and all sorts of things, so I'm more than happy to help out in any way.
Beautiful. You can also reach me, Maria, at teamfirepower.com. I'll post all these details in the description down below. Have a great one, guys.
Bye.